everybody, it's Paula here. We're going to be doing a target sequence plan. Therapists want to know how to target present day or future events as opposed to going back into the past. Target sequence planning is hard to teach unless you're at a basic training. I also want to demo Emily here, who is an avatar. It's Practice EMDR so that we can practice our EMDR. You can practice any script with an avatar like Emily. There are many avatars to pick from. It's kind of like a computer game, like which trauma does this avatar have? Anyway, lots of fun to be had practicing, but so I'm going to just get right to it. And when we do a target sequence plan, we're doing data collection. We're not doing therapy. So I'm not going to be asking for details. I don't want the client to go into depth around what it is that is happening. Literally, I just want a couple sentences, if possible, maybe a sentence when I'm doing target sequence planning. And so the script is on my website in the 8-phase starter packet, and I'm just going to show you how we use it just to give you an idea. Okay, here we go. Let's see how Emily works with us today. Hello, Emily. How are you today?
Hi, I'm feeling a bit anxious today. It's been a tough week and I'm struggling with some memories that keep coming back. How about you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. I'm going to ask you some questions. I just want you to give me like a couple words, maybe a sentence or two as the answer. I don't, we're going to do data collection. So I'm not going to be going into any detail about some of these things. So I'd just like to start with, what issue would you like to address?
I'd like to address the memory of a car accident I had a few years ago. It's something that still really bothers me and brings up a lot of fear.
Excellent. And what emotions, sensations, or thoughts come up when that happens?
When I think about the accident, I feel a lot of fear and tension in my chest. My thoughts become very scattered, and I often worry about driving or being in traffic. There's also a sense of helplessness that comes over me.
Excellent. And as you think of your issues and what it means to you, what negative cognition or belief goes best with that situation?
I guess I often believe that I'm not safe, or that I can't control what happens around me. It feels like I'm always at risk of something bad happening again.
Which negative cognition belief would you like? I'm not safe, or that I cannot control what is around me, or I'm powerless?
I'd like to focus on the belief that I'm not safe. That seems to be at the core of my anxiety.
Excellent. And tell me one or two times when you've experienced this negative cognition belief and its emotions or sensations.
One time was during the accident itself. I remember feeling completely out of control and terrified that I wouldn't make it out safely. I felt my heart racing and my hands trembling. Another time was right after the accident, when I avoided driving for a long time because I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't safe behind the wheel. My stomach would churn just thinking about getting back in a car.
Okay. And as you think of your negative cognition, notice feelings or body sensations related to it. Let your mind float back to an earlier time and tell me the first scene that comes to mind where you felt this way before.
The first scene that comes to mind is from when I was a teenager. I was at a family gathering and I got lost in a large crowd. I felt so overwhelmed and scared, thinking I wouldn't find my family again. My heart raced, and I remember feeling a tightness in my chest. That feeling of being lost and not safe has stayed with me for a long time.
Excellent. And any situations with your parents or siblings when you felt the same way as a child?
Yes, there were a few times when I felt that way with my parents. Once we went on a hiking trip, and I got separated from them on the trail. I remember feeling so alone and anxious, thinking I would be lost in the forest. My heart was pounding, and I had a heavy feeling in my stomach until I found them again. Those moments made me feel like I couldn't rely on my surroundings to keep me safe.
Excellent. And when is the earliest time you can recall feeling this way?
I think the earliest memory I can recall is from when I was very young, around maybe 4 or 5 years old. I got separated from my mom in a busy store and felt utterly lost and scared. I remember crying and not being able to find her, feeling like I was alone and didn't know what to do. That experience left me with a lasting sense of not being safe and secure.
Okay, and as you think of your negative cognition belief, tell me about some times in the future when you may feel the same way.
In the future, I might feel this way in situations like driving in heavy traffic, especially if I'm on a busy highway or during a storm. I also worry about feeling this way at crowded places like airports or large events, where I might not be able to easily find a safe spot or feel secure. These situations could trigger feelings of anxiety and doubt about my safety.
Great. And as you think of your presenting issue, what would you prefer to believe or to know about yourself now?
I would prefer to believe that I am capable of handling challenging situations and that I can find safety and calm wherever I am. I want to trust that I can stay in control and feel secure, even in crowded or unpredictable environments. Knowing that I have the inner strength to stay grounded would bring me a lot of comfort.
How are you with the language of I can learn when and how to recognize what I need to be safe?
I think that language feels empowering. Believing that I can learn when and how to recognize what I need to feel safe gives me hope and a sense of control. It helps me think that I can develop the skills to handle situations better and not feel overwhelmed.
Excellent. And can you give me one or two examples of times when you could recognize what it was that you could do to keep yourself safe?
One example is when I'm driving and I start to feel anxious. I can focus on maintaining a steady speed and staying in the right lane, which makes me feel more in control. Another example is when I'm at a crowded place. I can find a quieter corner to take a few deep breaths and calm myself. These actions help me feel safer and more grounded.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Emily. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the share. And then I want to bring back up the share because I want to show you what a target sequencing plan looks like. Just know this is something that Roy Kiesling introduced to his trainings back in 2013. And it is a way to identify many different targets. So our client was Emily, her presenting problem or issue as reported. You have your negative cognition around safety. You have your positive cognition about learning what it is that you can um, uh, control or what you can recognize to stay safe. And then here we have the future, the present, the past, and the earliest. And we just put in here just a couple words or a phrase in order to recognize what the target was that Emily recognized. And over here, super important, we have our positive cognition, but we also have two examples of times when Emily experienced her positive cognition, and we can strengthen and enhance those with our slow, short sets of bilateral per Laurel Purnell and tapping in. So this is a beautiful visual representation. It is a great way to have our clients be able to advocate for themselves. We would say to Emily, which I'm sorry I didn't do, what present or future target would you like to start with? Let's see if I can still do that. Emily, what future or present target would you like to start with from our targeting plan that we put together?
I think I'd like to start with the memory about the argument I had with my brother last year. It still brings up a lot of emotions for me.
Okay, and what's the worst part of that?
The worst part was feeling so misunderstood and alone. I remember feeling like he wasn't listening to me at all, and my heart was pounding the entire time.
Excellent. And if you were to take a snapshot or a picture of that worst part, what would represent it?
I think the snapshot would be of us sitting across from each other at the dining table, both looking really frustrated and upset. The tension was so thick, and it felt like we were miles apart, even though we were in the same room.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. So that was perfect. Emily gave us the worst part. She gave us a snapshot. We're ready to move into our phase 3. We're able to focus on something that's present day so we don't have to go into the past. These scripts that you can practice with Emily, Emily is free for 3 months, and the scripts are on my website. Also, the target sequence plan is something that you're able to utilize right away. Okay, if you have any questions, let us know. See ya.